G'day, BookTube. You're here with Nick, the Renaissance Bookman, and today I'm excited. This is essentially like Christmas morning for me because late yesterday afternoon, what arrived but a big box of books, and I'm excited to open them. What's exciting about Christmas normally is you don't quite often know what's underneath the Christmas tree, and unusually that's kind of the case for me right now with this large box of books. How is it that I don't know what I ordered? Yeah, okay, so I live in the middle of outback Australia, absolute middle of nowhere. So next day delivery, like Amazon style, is not a thing where I live. I do not have that luxury. But that doesn't really justify why I've forgotten what I ordered, because there was another several month delay. When I was in the process of ordering said box of books, my internet cut out. Right at the moment I'm going, yep, finalized transaction. Because there was a bushfire, it got into like the little service bunker thing. That's a technical term, service bunker thing. And the fire then burnt out all the cables that the internet is transferred on. So we lost internet for like a solid week. The consequence of that is when I eventually got internet back, only to discover that my credit card had been charged, but my cart was still full of all the books that I thought I bought. And I had not received a confirmation email. So I'm liaising with the bank, liaising with the company, and both are like, oh, we've given the money away. Oh, we haven't received the money. And so eventually, after a long time, far too long, was able to agree that, okay, the transaction has taken place. Unfortunately, at that point in time, the company had sold out of some of the books that I'd bought, and shipping cost an arm and a leg here. And so I was like, okay, you guys just hold on to everything. Once you've got everything on back order, then send me everything in one single go, reduce my costs. And my TBR at this point in time is 15 books deep. I don't necessarily need to add another 5 to that list immediately. So I'm happy to be patient. The consequence of that is I ordered these like 4 months ago, and now they've just arrived. I think I can remember 1 or 2 of them, but the rest is going to be a surprise. So I'm going to lean into that YouTube trope. We're going to do an unboxing video, and I'll give you my unfiltered excitement level. How many bananas or pineapples worth of excitement am I to read the books that I've got here? So here goes. I don't know if to be upset or impressed by the amount of paper that is shoved in there. Thank you for looking after my books, and maybe one less tree next time. Who am I to complain? I read physical books. I've got a Kindle. I haven't bought a single book on the Kindle in months. I can't complain too much. Okay. So the first book we've got is James by Perceval Everett, and this is in the literary fiction genre. As I understand it, this is a reimagining of the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Except being told through Huck's eyes, you get it through his co-protagonist, the enslaved, runaway, I'm not sure what words to describe there, of James, of Jim, told through his eyes. Honesty moment here, I've never read Mark Twain's work. And so now you're probably asking, Nick, why did you buy a reimagining of a story when you haven't read the original? Do you intend to read the original before you dive into this one? And the answer is no, absolutely no intent. You do you, I'll do me. I just want to read this one before I've read the other one. It'll be interesting to see if it was required reading to have read the first before I read this one, or if this one stands alone. Why did I buy it? It won awards. This was the 2025 Pulitzer Prize award winner for fiction, and that is why I bought it. Simple as that. I don't know well, actually I know a little bit. No, I don't. I know very little about Mark Twain's original work. As far as I'm aware, Huckleberry Finn, young white boy is probably more appropriate, runs away from home for one reason or another. Somehow then teams up with our mate Jim, who is a convict, I believe, and he has escaped. And the two of them then go on an adventure down the Mississippi River. So that's showing how ignorant I am. But it's that adventure tale, maybe coming of age, we'll see. I don't quite know. I'm keen to see if those same themes of what I imagine is going to be justice, and they're going to explore racial prejudices as well, having a small white boy and the indoctrinated and institutionalized racism that probably comes through in that culture, in comparison to Jim, black man, who was a convict, who I'm just going to throw out there, probably did very little. Probably did very, very little to be enslaved. Anyone that knows the original story might be laughing at me if he's guilty of murder, but we'll see how it goes. Do you guys ever just buy books straight away just because they've won awards? My mum does that, so I'm guilty. Mum, I blame you. I bought this because it was a Pulitzer Prize winner. I am at least 4 pineapples worth of excited to read James by Percival Everett. Nice. Good start so far. Next book. What do we got? Very cool. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. And this is in the dark fantasy genre. GrimDark fantasy, I've also heard Joe described as, which means he is a special breed of immoral characters. I'm excited for this one. So I'm actually relatively new to sci-fi and fantasy. For such a long time, I didn't give myself permission to read for enjoyment. This year has changed that in a big way. Like I've read some classics. Like obviously I grew up reading Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings was pivotal as far as a fantasy novel, and just just the world building that you can do through stories. But for most of my 20s, I just didn't give myself permission to read for enjoyment. Thank you, BookTube. You guys have showed me just how fun and exciting sci-fi and fantasy can be. So this year has been heavy on the sci-fi and fantasy. So I was pretty excited when I discovered that Joe Abercrombie, really well-known author, had released a book this year, so that I could potentially get this and read it alongside everybody else on BookTube that was reading it at the same time. Now, I've got a 4-month delay. Thank you, shipping companies, but that's okay. I'm excited for this one. I haven't read any Joe Abercrombie before. Something that I've heard this described as is kind of like the Suicide Squad, in terms they've got all these anti-heroes and you're following them, and they are just really immoral. They make questionable decisions the whole way through, and so that can be really fun. I saw a unique description. Let me look that up. Okay. So the book follows a monk, a cursed knight, pirate, a werewolf, a vampire, and a magician, and an elf, who are tasked by the church to escort a former thief to Troy, where she is heir to the throne. A monk, cursed knight, pirate, werewolf, vampire, magician, and an elf. Yeah, I'm in. Strap me in. I'm excited for that one. What a motley crew of characters. I'm also aware that James Cameron has purchased the movie rights to this book, so I'm keen to see what the movie adaptation is going to be. I'm sure the book will be better, and I'll read the book before I ever watch the movie. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. This is a solid 4.2 bananas worth of excitement on this one. So very keen to read this one. All right, let's see if I like Joe Abercrombie. A lot of the guys that I follow on BookTube, I've loved absolutely everything that you've put out in terms of recommendations this year. And one in particular I'm thinking of said that Joe's might be his favorite author. I like you and trust your judgment so far. We'll see if I agree. See how that goes. Good start. Oh my goodness. Seriously. Yes. Les Mis by Victor Hugo. I'm whispering because this one is at present for my wife. I just trust that she's in another room with headphones on. Yeah, Les Mis, we all know the tale, right? If you haven't read the book, I don't blame you. This is an absolute beast of a thing, but we've probably either seen the play or we've watched the Hollywood adaptation with Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway, and Hugh Jackman. Absolutely terrific. This one hits home to me for a few reasons. I'll stop whispering now. That's probably destroyed all of my audio in terms of levels, but that's okay. I'm excited for this one for a few reasons. It is quite simply my favorite play. The story of redemption and grace and love and the fight for justice, the real binary nature is really interesting, really appealing to me, but that grace is just so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I can't say I've ever read the full thing. I've skim-read portions of it. And for anyone who has tried to read it, I think you'll know why most people struggle to read this one. Victor Hugo gets distracted and goes on quite literally a 40-page tangent on whatever socio-political thing that he would like to be talking about. It puts all of Hamlet's soliloquies to absolute shame. And he is shameless about it. He's just like, I've just finished 12 pages on the merits of the French Revolution. Let me give you 40 on Napoleon III's most recent economic endeavors. And it's just wild. That this thing is a monster of a book. So we're at 1,200 pages, and the thing is size 6 font. I don't know if you can see that. That is wildly small. Unqualified opinion. This has got to be one of the largest books in terms of word count ever written. Don't fact check me on this one. It's in the top 5. I'm sure of it. I've looked it up. You don't need to. But no, I'm excited for this one. But yeah, for the first reason, because of the special place it has in my heart, just due to the story, absolutely love it. But also for my wife and why it's a present for her. She is a musical theatre type. You can picture the stereotype. She sings running around the house all the time. My daughter is now identical to that, constantly singing. It's really beautiful. But when I was courting my now wife, she was in the musical Les Mis. She tried out for Eponine, had some callbacks, ultimately didn't get that role, but she was invited to be in the ensemble, which, if you can think about what roles the ensemble did, is really entertaining. So she was a lovely lady, which is absolutely hilarious. Anyone that knows my wife at all, she is one of the more prim and proper individuals. And she was mortified when the guy she was dating, trying to impress, came along and had to see her dressed up as a prostitute. She didn't want me to come, but too bad. I was going. I went and watched it like 3 times. It was terrific. All 4.5 hours, which you could understand. That's impressive to turn a play this size into 4.5 hours worth. So well done, directors, for your capacity to do that. But this is a terrific story. Originally published back in like the 1860s or thereabouts. It's set in the backdrop of the French Revolution many years on. Napoleon III, I believe, Napoleon III. I should probably look that up. He was the ruling elite at this point in time when Les Mis was set, and the final fight scene being the June Rebellion of 1860s? Something like that? No, that's wrong. When was the June Rebellion? 1830s? Doesn't matter. June Rebellion's that final fight scene with Marius and all of the guys. A highly political novel. I probably won't read all of this myself. It's just beautiful, some of the text. Oh, this is great. This is great. So this is the bishop talking. Let us never fear robbers nor murderers. Those are dangers from without, petty dangers. Let us fear ourselves. Prejudices are the real robbers. Vices are the real murderers. The great dangers lie within ourselves. What matters is what threatens our head or our purse. Let us think only of what threatens our soul. Woo! Putting it in perspective. So that's type of the dialogue that you actually get in Les Mis. This is heavy. Like, who needs a gym when you've got a book, is all I'll say about this one. I'll wrap this up. We're so close to Christmas right now. This has just turned into a Christmas present. It was meant to be just a romantic, hey, I'm thinking of you and thank you for making sacrifices kind of surprise. But this one will get wrapped up and find its way under the Christmas tree. So am I excited to read this one? Absolutely not. This is one of the more intimidating books that I've ever held. I'm like a 2.5 in terms of excitement. But what I will do is I will probably periodically flip it open and then just join Victor on whatever political musings he's going through at that point in time in the book. And I'll probably just watch the play again and say that it's the same thing. Oh, that was heavy. Okay. Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. And I am sorry if I just completely butchered your name. Yeah, so I came across this one when I saw a recommendation for his full-length novel, Gang Chain All-Stars, I believe it is. I haven't read that, but then someone else was like, this guy is a writer to be respected, to be revered and feared. And so I immediately jumped on this one. It's a collection of short stories that explore the violence and injustice that Black Americans are exposed to and have to live through every day. Now, Australia has its own unique breed of institutionalized racism. Like, we are not, Americans are not alone. We have our own problems. This is hopefully going to be a book that will explore some of those things, challenge some of my prejudices, some of my biases. I grew up in Broken Hill, middle of outback in Australia. The only thing it's famous for realistically is BHP, largest mining company in the world, Broken Hill Proprietary Limited. Founded out of my small hometown. So that's my claim to fame. That in that environment there, we were like 40% Indigenous population. In comparison, when I moved to Newcastle, where I met my wife and where she grew up, I distinctly remember looking around at one point in time and going, where are the First Nations people? Like, they were there, but we're talking sub 2%. It was a heavily Caucasian environment there, a whole bunch of migrants and the like, but not First Nations people. And so this will be really interesting. My wife having grown up in that environment, and me growing up in the environment that I'm in. So this will be really interesting. I know one of the short stories do explore some of those ingrained racial issues and prejudice and injustice. So I reckon this might be a bit of a buddy read, 1 or 2 of these short stories where we can read them together. And it's the type of book where I think you have to have another book and a pen open right next to you. You're not speed reading this. You're taking the time. You're chewing on it. This is the full course meal. It's a steak, the big New York cut steak, and you got to chew your way through it and think about things and meditate on stuff. Because if you're not doing that, you're probably not going to get the most out of it. Another short story in here that I've heard is around capitalism, consumerism. And so I'm keen to explore that as well. I'm a product of the world in which I live in, so it's worth checking yourself every now and then. Nana Kwame, I am super keen to read your book, sir. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, doing you justice, but I will feature this one for sure on the channel. This one I'm excited for. This is a 4.8. Thank you, sir, for being brave enough to put your words on paper. Hopefully they move me in some capacity and make me a different person at the end of this book in comparison to the start. Excited for this one. All right, box is getting empty now. Aha. Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is a science fiction / thriller type story genre. That's a weird way to describe that. This is science fiction and thriller. You might know Blake Crouch. I've never read any Blake Crouch before. Actually, I've never read any of these authors before. Blake Crouch, he wrote the book Dark Matter, which I'm pretty sure got turned into a Netflix series. I haven't seen nor read that one. This will be my introduction to Blake Crouch, but I'm pretty keen. I'm excited. As I understand, this book is the general theme is that people suffer from this mental affliction where they have false memory syndrome, where they are plagued and ultimately driven insane by memories that are not their own. But they feel them, they're visceral, they feel like they are their own, to the point where people are going insane because they've lost a child. Their child was abducted, and now their new whole purpose on life is trying to find their lost child. They've never given birth in their life. But this is the type of false memories that implanted, that's just leaning into sci-fi aspects there. But that's exciting. That's cool. I like that. This will be pretty challenging. I've also been told that I should refresh some of my quantum physics understanding to get the most out of this book. I know absolutely next to nothing about quantum physics outside of words like entanglement, particle duality, and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see. I might have to watch a couple of YouTube refreshers to see what I can get out of it. But another one of the ideas that I heard someone else talk about when discussing this book is the idea, just imagine, would you do this? If you had the ability to replay, like reimagine, re-experience a past memory. I'm not talking about the memory that you have of it and how that's warped over time and becomes grandiose and bigger than Ben-Hur in our mind's eye now, but truly experience it and all of that raw emotion again. Would you do that? I'm thinking things like, I'm taking a positive approach to it. Go back and experience your first kiss. The first time that you laid eyes on your now forever partner. Or perhaps that time when you kicked the winning goal in the grand final after the siren and that raw joy and exuberance that you felt in that moment. Wouldn't it be cool to go back and explore those and actually feel them again for the first time? Now, I'm not saying I peaked in high school. Some may accuse me of that. But those types of things, I have really fond memories of those different types of things. I don't think I've ever kicked the winning goal in a grand final. No, most definitely not. However, being able to go back and explore those. I imagine there'd be some sadists amongst us that would go back and experience all those real negative things and torment themselves over really bad decisions that they've made. So guardrails will be important, but I have no doubt that we'll explore some of those themes in here. It's looking at memory, it's looking at time and regret and a whole bunch of things. So I'm excited for this one. I still find sci-fi sometimes a little hit and miss for me. I'll either absolutely love it, Andy Weir, for example, love what he puts out in terms of sci-fi. But some of the other ones with the multi-dimensional stuff, I'm like, okay, like you got to convince me here. This one less excited, but maybe only 3.8 bananas worth of excitement on this one, but I absolutely will read it. It looks totally approachable. I could take this on a flight and probably get that done in the 4 hours, 5 hours that we're airborne. So we'll see how this one goes, whether it completely bends my mind, whether it does explore those ideas that I talked about. Let's do a recap. We've got Recursion by Blake Crouch, Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I'm getting better at saying your name, sir. Oh my goodness, 2 hands for this one. Les Mis by Victor Hugo. We all know this one. Probably not going to read it. It almost becomes an ornament. My wife will probably read it. She's a better reader than me. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Super excited for my monk, my knight, my vampire, my werewolf, and my thief who is heir to the throne in Troy. That's going to be exciting. And finally, the book that I bought because it simply won an award, a retelling of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, told through the eyes of Jim, our enslaved convict, or words to that effect. James, excited for that one. Pulitzer Prize winner from 2025. Let me know in the comments below, which of these books have you read and would recommend that I prioritize? Give me your reading order. Which ones of these should I read and in what order? My TBR is getting quite intimidating. So that's 20 books in the physical TBR. Oh, I wish there was more time in the day. Until next time, ciao.